Hello and welcome to this second look exploring session looking at the true chronicle history of King Leir and his three daughters, Gonorill, Ragan and Cordella. And this is from the repertoire of the Queen's Men, who we are inordinately fond of. And we have already done a first look at this play. We did a slow, stoppy-starty discussion type thing today, and tomorrow we're doing a second look where we're going to run at it with some pace. We may even do some acting. I know it's controversial, but we may give a bit of a performance. We may not. Some of us have done some prep on this. Many of us have not had time to do so. Some of us have randomly picked up the script at very, very short notice. So this is all about the pace and the energy of the play and how it functions in as close to one unit as possible. We're going up to scene 17 today before we pause. That may not be where we would put an interval in a production, but it's about the right place, and so tomorrow we will be continuing from scenes 18 to the end of the text, and hopefully we will get a sense of how it all flows, and hopefully you will enjoy watching this video. If you want to know who we're all playing, there are notes in the underneath the video telling you who we all are, but today reading will be Francis, Tamara, Lois, Liza, Alan, Alexandra, Sarah, Dan, Lynn, Helen, Rachael and Briony, and they're going to be playing all of your favourite King Leir characters, most importantly people like Skalliger and that most wonderful of parts, Messenger. So without further ado, I'm going to ask all the wonderful people to switch off their videos for a moment of awkward silence as we all prepare. This awkward silence will be edited out later. So stand by for action.
Thus to our griefs the obsequies performed of our too late deceased and dearest queen, whose soul I hoped, possessed of heavenly joys, doth ride in triumph mongst the cherubims. Let us request your grave advice, my lords, for the disposing of our princely daughters, for whom our care is specially employed, as nature bindeth to advance their states in royal marriage with some princely mates. For wanting now their mother's good advice, under whose government they have received a perfect pattern of virtuous life, lest as it were a ship without a stern, or silly sheep without a pastor's care, although ourselves do dearly tender them, yet are we ignorant of their affairs. For fathers best do know to govern sons, but daughters' steps the mother's counsel turns. A son we want for to succeed our crown, and course of time hath counselled the date of further issue from our withered loins. 1 foot already hangeth in the grave, and age hath made deep furrows in my face. The world of me, I of the world am weary, and I would fain resign these earthly cares, and think upon the welfare of my soul, which by no means may be affected than by resigning up the crown from me, in equal dowry to my daughters three.
A worthy care, my liege, which well declares the zeal you bear unto your quondam queen, and since your grace hath licensed me to speak, I censure thus, your majesty knowing well, what several suitors your princely daughters have, to make them each a jointure more or less, as is their worth, to them that love profess.
No more, no less, but even all alike, my zeal is fixed, all fashioned in one mold. Wherefore unpartial shall be my censure be, both old and young shall have alike for me.
My gracious lord, I heartily do wish that God had lent you an heir indubitate, which might have set upon your royal throne when fates should lose the prison of your life, by whose succession all this doubt might cease, and as by you, by him, we might have peace. But after wishes ever comes too late, and nothing can revoke the course of fate. Wherefore, my liege, my censure deems it best to match them with some of your neighbour kings, bordering within the bounds of Albion, by whose united friendship this, our state, may be protected 'gainst all foreign hate.
Herein, my lords, your wishes sort with mine, and mine I hope to sort with heavenly powers. For at this instant, two near neighboring kings of Cornwall and of Cambria motion love to my two daughters, Gonorill and Ragan. My youngest daughter, fair Cordella, vows no liking to a monarch unless love allows. She is solicited by diverse peers, but none of them her partial fancy hears. Yet, if my policy may her beguile, I'll match her to some king within this isle, and so establish such a perfect peace as fortune's force shall ne'er prevail to cease.
Of us and ours, your gracious care, my lord, deserves an everlasting memory, to be enrolled in chronicles of fame by never-dying perpetuity. Yet to become so provident a prince, lose not the title of a loving father. Do not force love where fancy cannot dwell, lest streams, being stopped, above the banks do swell.
I am resolved, and even now my mind doth meditate a sudden stratagem to try which of my daughters loves me best, which till I know I cannot be in rest. This granted, when they jointly shall contend, each to exceed the other in their love, then at the vantage will I take Cordella, even as she doth protest she loves me best. I'll say, then daughter, grant me one request, to show thou lovest me as thy sisters do, except a husband whom myself will woo. This said, she cannot well deny my suit, although, poor soul, her senses will be mute. Then will I triumph in my policy and match her with a king of Brittany.
I'll to them before and bewray your secrecy.
Thus fathers think their children to beguile, and oftentimes themselves do first repent, when heavenly powers do frustrate their intent.
I marvel, Ragan, how you can endure to see that proud, pert Pete, our youngest sister, so slightly to account of us, her elders, as if we were no better than herself. We cannot have a quaint device so soon, or new-made fashion of our choice invention, but if she like it, she will have the same, or study newer to exceed us both. Besides, she is so nice and so demure, so sober, courteous, modest, and precise, that all the court hath work enough to do to talk how she exceedeth me and you.
What should I do? Were it in my power to find a cure for this contagious ill, some desperate medicine must be soon applied to dim the glory of her mounting fame. Else, ere it be long, she'll have both prick and praise, and we must be set by for working days. Do you not see what several choice of suitors she daily hath, and of the best degree? Say, among all she hap to fancy one and have a husband, when, as we have none, why then, by right, to her we must give place, though it be ne'er so much to our disgrace.
By my virginity, rather than she shall have a husband before me, I'll marry one or other in his shirt. And yet I have made half a grant already of my goodwill unto the King of Cornwall.
Swear not so deeply, sister. Here cometh my lord Skalliger. Something his hasty coming doth import.
Sweet princesses, I am glad I met you here so luckily, having good news which doth concern you both, and craveth speedy expedition.
For God's sake, tell us what it is, my lord. I am with child until you utter it.
Madame, to save your longing, this it is. Your father in great secrecy today told me he means to marry you out of hand unto the noble prince of Cambria. You, madame, to the king of Cornwall's grace. Your younger sister he would fain bestow upon the rich king of Hibernia. But that he doubts, she hardly will consent, For hitherto she ne'er could fancy him. If she do yield, why then, between you three, he will divide his kingdom for your dowries. But yet there is further mystery, which, so you will conceal, I will disclose.
Whate'er thou speaks to us, kind Skalliger, think that thou speaks it only to thyself.
He earnestly desireth for to know which of you three do bear most love to him. And on your loves he so extremely dotes, as never did any, I think, before. He presently doth mean to send for you, to be resolved of this tormenting doubt, and look whose answer pleaseth him best, they shall have the most unto their marriages.
That I had some pleasing mermaid's voice for to enchant his senseless senses with.
For he supposeth that Cordella will, striving to go beyond you in her love, promise to do whatever he desires. Then will he straiten join her for his sake, the Hibernian king in marriage for to take. This is the sum of all I have to say, which being done, I humbly take my leave, not doubting your wisdoms will foresee what course will best unto your good agree.
Thanks, gentle Skalliger. Thy kindness undeserved shall not be unrequited if we live.
Now we have fit occasion offered us to be revenged upon her, unperceived.
Nay, our revenge we will inflict on her shall be accounted piety in us. I will so flatter with my doting father as he was ne'er so flattered in his life. Nay, I will say that if it be his pleasure to match me with a beggar, I will yield. For why, I know whatever I will say, he means to match me with the Cornwall king.
I'll say the like. But I am well assured, whate'er I say, to please the old man's mind, who dotes as if he were a child again. I shall enjoy the noble Cambrian prince. Only to feed his humour will suffice to say I am content with anyone whom he'll appoint me. This will please him more than e'er Apollo's music pleaseth Jove.
I smile to think in what a woeful plight Cordella will be when we answer thus, for she will rather die than give consent to join in marriage with the Irish king. So will our father think she loveth him not, because she will not grant to his desire, which we will aggravate in such bitter terms that he will soon convert his love to hate, for he, you know, is always in extremes.
Not all the world could lay a better plot. I long till it be put in practice.
Perillus, go seek my daughters. Will them immediately come and speak with me?
I will, my gracious lord.
Oh, what a combat feels my panting heart, twixt children's love and care of commonweal. How dear my daughters are unto my soul. None knows but he that knows my thoughts and secret deeds. Ah, little do they know the dear regard wherein I hold their future state to come. When they securely sleep on beds of down, these aged eyes do watch for their behalf, while they like wantons sport in youthful toys. This throbbing heart is pierced with dire noise. As doth the sun exceed the smallest star, so much the father's love exceeds the child's. My complaints are causeless, for the world affords not children more conformable. And yet, methinks my mind presages still, I know not what, and yet I fear some ill. Here my daughters come. I have found out a present means to rid them of this doubt.
Our royal lord and father, in all duty, we come to know the tenor of your will. Why you so hastily have sent for us?
Dear Gonorill, kind Ragan, sweet Cordella, ye flourishing branches of a kingly stock, sprung from a tree that once did flourish green, whose blossoms now are nipped with winter's frost, and pale grim death doth wait upon my steps, and summons me unto his next assizes. Therefore, dear daughters, as ye tender the safety of him that was the cause of your first being, resolve a doubt which much molests my mind. Which of you three to me would prove most kind, which loves me most, and which at my request will soonest yield unto their father's hest?
I hope my gracious father makes no doubt of any of his daughters' love to him. Yet, for my part, to show my zeal to you, which cannot be in windy words rehearsed, I prize my love to you at such a rate to think my life inferior to my love. Should you enjoin me for to tie a millstone about my neck and leap into the sea, at your command I willingly would do it. Yea, for to do you good, I would ascend the highest turret in all Brittany, and from the top leap headlong to the ground. Nay, more, should you appoint me for to marry the meanest vassal in this spacious world, without reply, I would accomplish it. In brief, command whatever you desire, and if I fail, no favour I require.
Oh, how thy words revive my dying soul.
Oh, how I do abhor this flattery.
But what saith Ragan to her father's will?
Oh, that my simple utterance could suffice to tell the true intention of my heart, which burns in zeal of duty to your grace, and never can be quenched, but by desire to show the same in outward forwardness. Oh, that there were some other maid that durst but make a challenge of her love with me. I'd make her soon confess she never loved her father half so well as I do you. Ay, there, my deeds should prove in plainer case how much my zeal aboundeth to your grace. But, for them all, let this one means suffice to ratify my love before your eyes. I have right, noble suitors to my love, no worse than kings, and happily I love one. Yet, would you have me make my choice anew, I'd bridle fancy and be ruled by you.
Never Philomel sings so sweet a note.
Did never flatterer tell so false a tale.
Speak now, Cordella, make my joys at full, and drop down nectar from thy honey lips.
I cannot paint my duty forth in words. I hope my deeds shall make report for me. But look what love the child doth owe the father, the same to you I bear, my gracious lord.
Here is an answer, answerless indeed. Were you my daughter, I should scarcely brook it.
Dost thou not blush, proud peacock as thou art, to make our father such a slight reply?
Why, how now, minion? Are you grown so proud? Doth our dear love make you thus peremptory? What has your love become so small to us, and that you scorn to tell us what it is? Do you love us, as every child doth love their father? True indeed, as some who by disobedience short their father's days, and so would you. Some are so father sick that they make means to rid them from the world, and so would you. Some are indifferent, whether their aged parents live or die, and so are you. Some are indifferent, whether their aged parents live or die, and so are you. But didst thou know, proud girl, what care I had to foster thee to this? Then thou wouldst say as thy sisters do, our life is less than love we owe to you.
Dear father, do not so mistake my words, nor my plain meaning be misconstrued. My tongue was never used to flattery.
You were not best say I flatter. If you do, my deeds shall show I flatter not with you. I love my father better than thou canst.
The praise were great, spoke from another's mouth, but it should seem your neighbours dwell far off.
Nay, here is one that will confirm as much as she hath said, both for myself and her. I say, thou dost not wish my father good.
Dear father,
Peace, bastard imp, no issue of King Leir. I will not hear thee speak one tittle more. Call me not me, father, if thou love thy life, nor these thy sisters once presumed to name. Look for no help henceforth from me nor mine. Shift as thou wilt, and trust unto thyself. My kingdom will I equally divide twixt thy two sisters to their royal dower, and will bestow them worthy their deserts. This done, because thou shalt not have the hope to have a child's part in the time to come, I presently will dispossess myself and set up these unto my princely throne.
I ever thought that pride would have a fall.
Plain dealing, sister. Your beauty is so sheen. You need no dowry to make you be a queen.
now whither, poor forsaken, shall I go, when mine own sisters triumph in my woe? But unto him which doth protect the just, in him will poor Cordella put her trust. His hands shall labour for to get my spending, and so I'll live until my days have ending.
Oh, how I grieve to see my lord thus fond, to dote so much upon vain flattering words. Ah, if he but with good advice hath weighed the hidden tenure of her humble speech, reason to rage should not have given place, nor poor Cordella suffer such disgrace.
Dissuade me not, my lords. I am resolved this next fair wind to sail for Brittany in some disguise, to see if flying fame be not too prodigal in the wondrous praise of these three nymphs, the daughters of King Leir. If present view do answer present praise, and eyes allow of what our ears have heard, and Venus stands auspicious to my vows, and fortune favour what I take in hand, I will return Caesar's of as rich a prize as Jason when he won the golden fleece.
Heavens grant you may, the match were full of honour, and well beseeming the young Gallian king. I would your grace would favour me so much, as make me partner of your pilgrimage. I long to see the gallant British dames, and feed mine eyes upon their rare perfections. But till I know the contrary, I'll say, our dames in France are more fair than they.
Lord Mumford, you have saved me a labour in offering that which I did mean to ask, and I must willingly accept your company. Yet first, I will enjoin you to observe some few conditions which I shall propose.
So that you do not take mine eyes for looking after the amorous glances of fair dames, so that you do not tie my tongue from speaking, my lips from kissing when occasion serves, my hand from congé, and my knees to bow to gallant girls, which were a task more hard than flesh or blood is able to endure. Command what else you please, I rest content.
To bind thee from a thing thou canst not leave were but a mean to make thee seek it more, and therefore speak, look, kiss, salute for me. In these myself I am like to second thee. Now, hear thy task. I charge thee from the time that first we set sail for the British shore, to use no words of dignity to me, but in the friendliest manner that thou canst, make use of me as thy companion, for we will go disguised in palmer's weeds, that no man shall mistrust us what we are.
If that be all, I'll fit your turn, I warrant you. I am sunk into the blunts, and I think the bluntest of all my kindred. Therefore, if I be too blunt with you, thank yourself for praying me to be so.
Thy pleasant company will make the way seem short. It resteth now that in my absence hence, I do commit the government to you, my trusty lords and faithful counsellors. Time cutteth off the rest, I have to say. The wind blows fair, and I must needs away.
Heaven send your voyage to as good effect as we your land do purpose to protect.
But how far distant are we from the court?
Some 20 miles, my lord, or thereabouts.
It seemeth to me 20,000 miles. Yet hope I to be there within this hour.
Then are you like to ride alone for me? I think my lord is weary of his life.
Sweet Gonorill, I long to see thy face, which has so kindly gratified my love.
Get a fresh horse, for by my soul I swear, I am past patience, longer to forbear the wished sight of my beloved mistress.
Now what in God's name does my lord intend? He thinks he ne'er shall come at journey's end. I would he had old Daedalus' waxen wings, that he might fly, so I might stay behind. For ere we get to Troynavan, I see he will quite tire himself, his horse, and me.
Brother of Cambria, we greet you well, as one whom here we little did expect.
Brother of Cornwall, met in happy time. I thought as much to have met the Soldan of Persia as to have met you in this place, my lord. No doubt it is about some great affairs to make you here so slenderly accompanied.
To say the truth, my lord, it is no less. And for your part, some hasty wind of chance hath blown you hither thus upon the sudden?
My lord, to break off further circumstances, for at this time I cannot brook delays, tell you your reasons, and I will tell you mine.
In faith content, and therefore to be brief, for I'm sure my haste's as great as yours, I am sent for to come unto King Leir, who by these present letters promiseth his eldest daughter, lovely Gonorill, to me in marriage, and for present dowry, the moiety of half his regiment. The lady's love I long ago possessed, but until now I never had the father's.
You tell me wonders, yet I will relate strange news, and henceforth we must brothers call. Witness these lines. His honorable age being weary of the troubles of the crown, his princely daughter Ragan will bestow on me in marriage, with half his seigniories, whom I would gladly be accepted of, with the third part, her compliments are such.
If I have one half, and you have the other, then between us we must needs have the whole.
The whole? How mean you that? Splut, I hope we shall have 2 holes between us.
Why, the whole kingdom.
Aye, that's very true.
What then is left for his third daughter's dowry, lovely Cordella, whom the world admires?
'Tis very strange. I know not what to think unless they mean to make a nun of her.
'Twere pity such rare beauty should be hid within the compass of a cloister's wall. But howsoe'er, if Leir's words prove true, it will be good, my lord, for me and you.
Then let us haste, all danger to prevent, for fear delays do alter his intent.
Sister, when did you see Cordella last, that pretty piece that thinks none good enough to speak to her, because, Sir Reverence, she hath a little beauty extraordinary?
Since time my father warned her from his presence, I never saw her, as I can remember. God give her joy of her surpassing beauty. I think her dowry will be small enough.
I have incensed my father so against her, as he will never be reclaimed again.
I was not much behind to do the like.
Faith, sister, what moves you to bear her such goodwill?
In truth, I think the same that moveth you, because she doth surpass us both in beauty.
Beshrew your fingers, how right you can guess. I told you true, it cuts me to the heart.
But we will keep her low enough, I warrant, and clip her wings for mounting up too high.
Whoever hath her shall have a rich marriage of her.
She were right fit to make a parson's wife. For they, men say, do love fair women well, and many times do marry them with nothing.
With nothing? Marry, God forbid. Why, are there any such?
I mean no money.
I cry you mercy, I mistook you much. And she is far too stately for the church. She'll lay her husband's benefice on her back, even in one gown, if she may have her will.
In faith, poor soul, I pity her a little. Would she were less fair, or more fortunate? Well, I think long until I see my Morgan, the gallant prince of Cambria, here arrive.
And so do I, until the Cornwall king present himself to consummate my joys. Peace, here cometh my father.
Cease good, my lords, and sue not to reverse our censure, which is now irrevocable. We have dispatched letters of contract unto the kings of Cambria and of Cornwall. Our hand and seal will justify no less. Then do not so dishonor me, my lords, as to make shipwreck of our kingly word. I am as kind as is the pelican that kills itself to save her young ones' lives, and yet as jealous as the princely eagle that kills her young ones if they do but dazzle upon the radiant splendor of the sun. Within this 2 days I expect their coming. But in good time, they are arrived already. This haste of yours, my lords, doth testify the fervent love you'll bear unto my daughters, and think yourselves as welcome to King Leir as ever Priam's children were to him.
My gracious lord, and father too, I hope, pardon for that I made no greater haste. But were my horse as swift as was my will, I long ere this had seen your majesty.
No other excuse of absence can I frame than what my brother hath informed your grace. For our undeserved welcome, we do vow perpetually to rest at your command.
But you, sweet love, illustrious Gonorill, the regent and the sovereign of my soul, is Cornwall welcome to your excellency?
As welcome as Leander was to Hero, or brave Aeneas to the Carthage queen, so and more welcome is your grace to me.
Oh, may my fortune prove no worse than his, since heavens do know my fancy is as much. Dear Ragan, say, if welcome unto thee, all welcomes else will little comfort me.
As gold is welcome to the covetous eye, as sleep is welcome to the traveller, as is fresh water to the sea-beaten men, or moistened showers into the parched ground, or anything more welcomer than this. So and more welcome, lovely Morgan is.
What resteth then, but that would consummate the celebration of these nuptials rites? My kingdom I do equally divide. Princes, draw lots, and take your chance as foals. These I resign as freely unto you, as erst by true succession they were mine. And here I do freely dispossess myself, and make you, too, my true adopted heirs. Myself will sojourn with my son of Cornwall, and take me to my prayers and my beads. I know my daughter Ragan will be sorry, because I do not spend my days with her. Would I were able to be with both at once. They are the kindest girls in Christendom.
I have been silent all this while, my lord, to see if any worthier than myself would once have spoken in poor Cordella's cause. But love or fear ties silence to their tongues. Oh, hear me speak for her, my gracious lord, whose deeds have not deserved this ruthless doom, and thus to disinherit her of all.
Urge this no more. And if thou love thy life, I say she is no daughter that doth scorn to tell her father how she loveth him. Whoever speaketh hereof to me again, I will esteem him for my mortal foe. Come, let us in to celebrate with joy the happy nuptials of these lovely pairs.
Ah, who so blind as they that will not see the near approach of their own misery? Poor lady, I extremely pity her, and whilst I live, each drop of my heart blood will I strain forth to do her any good.
My lord, how do you brook this British air?
My lord, I told you of this foolish humour, and bound you to the contrary, you know.
Pardon me for once, my lord, I did forget.
My lord, again! Then let's have nothing else, and so be taken for spies, and then 'tis well.
Swoons, I could bite my tongue in two for anger. For God's sake, name yourself some proper name.
Call me Perillus, and I'll call thee Denapol.
Might I be made the monarch of the world, I could not hit upon these names, I swear.
Then call me Will, and I'll call thee Jack.
Well, be it so, for I have well deserved to be called Jack.
Stand close, for here is a British lady cometh. A fairer creature ne'er mine eyes beheld.
This is a day of joy unto my sisters, whereon they both are married unto kings. And I, by birth, as worthy as themselves, am turned into the world to seek my fortune. How may I blame the fickle queen of chance that maketh me a pattern of her power? Ah, poor weak maid, whose imbecility is far unable to endure these brunts. Oh, Father Leir, how dost thou wrong thy child? Why, who always was obedient to thy will? But why accuse I fortune and my father? No, no, it is the pleasure of my God, and I do willingly embrace the rod.
It is no goddess, for she doth complain on fortune and the unkindness of her father.
These costly robes, ill-fitting my state, I will exchange for other meaner habits.
Now, if I had a kingdom in my hands, I would exchange it for a milkmaid's smock and petticoats, that she and I might shift our clothes together.
I will betake me to my thread and needle and earn my living with my fingers' ends.
Oh, brave! God willing, thou shalt have my custom. By sweet Saint Denis, here I sadly swear, for all the shirts and night gear that I wear.
I will profess and vow a maiden's life.
Then I protest thou shalt not have my custom.
I can forbear no longer for to speak, for if I do, I think my heart will break.
Sblood Will, I hope you're not in love with my sempster.
I am in such a labyrinth of love, as that I know not which way to get out.
You'll ne'er get out, unless you first get in.
I prithee, Jack, cross not my passions.
Prithee, Will, to her, and try her patience.
Thou fairest creature, whatsoe'er thou art, that ever any mortal eyes beheld, vouchsafe to me, who have o'erheard thy woes, to show the cause of these thy sad laments.
Oh, pilgrims, what avails to show the cause when there's no means to find a remedy?
To utter grief doth ease a heart o'ercharged.
To touch a sore doth aggravate the pain.
The silly mouse, by virtue of her teeth, released the princely lion from the net.
Kind Palmer, which so much desires to hear the tragic tale of my unhappy youth. Know this in brief, I am the hapless daughter of Leir, sometimes king of Brittany.
Why, who debars his honourable age from being still the king of Brittany?
None but himself hath dispossessed himself, and given all his kingdoms to the kings of Cornwall and of Cambria with my sisters.
Hath he given nothing to your lovely self?
He loved me not, and therefore gave me nothing, only because I would not flatter him. And in this day of triumph to my sisters, doth fortune triumph in my overthrow.
Sweet lady, say there should come a king, as good as either of your sister's husbands, to crave your love. Would you accept of him?
Do not mock with those in misery, nor do not think, though fortune have the power to spoil mine honour and debase my state, that she hath any interest in my mind. For if the greatest monarch on the earth should sue me in this extremity, except my heart could love and heart could like better than any that I ever saw, his great estate no more should move my mind than mountains move by blast of every wind.
Think not, sweet nymph, 'tis holy Palmer's guise, to grieved souls fresh torments to devise. Therefore, in witness of my true intent, let heaven and earth bear record of my words. There is a young and lusty Gallian king, so like to me as I am to myself, that earnestly doth crave to have thy love, and join with thee in Hymen's sacred bonds.
The like to thee did ne'er these eyes behold. O live to add new torments to my grief. What didst thou thus entrap me unawares? Oh, Palmer, my estate doth not befit a kingly marriage, as the case now stands. Whilom, when as I lived in honour's height, a prince perhaps might postulate my love, now misery, dishonour, and disgrace hath lit on me, and quite reversed the case. Thy king will hold thee wise, if thou succeeds the suit, whereas no dowry will ensue. Then be advised, Palmer, what to do. Cease for thy king, seek for thyself to woo.
Your birth's too high for any but a king.
My mind is low enough to love a Palmer rather than any king upon the earth.
Oh, but you can never endure their life, which is so strait and full of penury.
Yes, I can, and happy if I might. I'll hold thy Palmer's staff within my hand, and to think it is the sceptre of a queen. Sometimes I'll set thy bonnet on my head, and think I wear richly imperial crown. Sometimes I'll help thee in thy holy prayers, and think I am with thee in paradise. Thus I'll mock fortune as she mocketh me, and never will my lovely choice repent. For having thee, I shall have all content.
'Twere sin to hold her longer in suspense, since that my soul hath vowed she shall be mine. O dear Cordella, cordial to my heart, I am no Palmer, as I seem to be, but hither come in this unknown disguise, to view the admired beauty of those eyes. I am the king of Gallia, gentle maid, although thus slenderly accompanied, and yet thy vassal by imperious love, and sworn to serve thee everlastingly.
Whate'er you be, of high or low descent, all's one to me. I do request but this, that as I am, you will accept of me, and I will have you whatsoe'er you be. Yet well I know you come of royal race, I see such sparks of honour in your face.
Palmer's weed such power to win fair ladies? Faith, then I hope the next that falls is mine. Upon condition I no worse might speed, I would forever wear a Palmer's weed. I like an honest and plain dealing wench, that swears without exception, I will have you. These foppets, that know not whether to love a man or no, except they first go ask their mother's leave. By this hand, I hate them 10 times worse than poison.
What resteth then our happiness to procure?
Faith, go to church, to make the matter sure.
It shall be so, because the word shall say, King Leir's 3 daughters were wedded in one day. The celebration of this happy chance we will defer until we come to France.
I like the wooing. That's not long a-doing. Well, for her sake, I know what I know. I'll never marry whilst I live, except I have one of these British ladies. My humour is alienated from the maids of France.
The king hath dispossessed himself of all, those to advance which scarce will give him thanks. His youngest daughter he hath turned away, and no man knows what is become of her. He sojourns now in Cornwall with the eldest, who flattered him until she did obtain that at his hands which now she doth possess. And now she sees he hath no more to give, it grieves her heart to see her father live. Oh, whom should man trust in this wicked age, when children thus against their parents rage? But he, the mirror of mild patience, puts up all wrongs and never gives reply. Yet shames she not in most opprobrious sort to call him fool and dotard to his face, and sets her parasites of purpose oft in scoffing wise to offer him disgrace. O iron age, O times, O monstrous, viled, when parents are condemned of the child. His pension she hath half restrained from him, and will ere long the other half, I fear, for she thinks nothing is bestowed in vain, but that which doth her father's life maintain. Trust not alliance, but trust strangers rather, since daughters prove disloyal to the father. Well, I will counsel him the best I can. Would I were able to redress his wrong. Yet what I can unto my utmost power, he shall be sure of to the latest hour.
I prithee, Skalliger, tell me that thou think'st, could any woman of our dignity endure such quips and peremptory taunts as I do daily from my doting father? Doth't not suffice that I him keep of arms, who is not able for to keep himself, but as it he were our better, he should think to check and snap me up every word. I cannot make me a new-fashioned gown and set it forth with more than common cost, but that his old doting, doltish, withered wit is sure to give a senseless check for it. I cannot make a banquet extraordinary to grace myself and spread my name abroad, but he, old fool, is captious by and by, and saith the cost would well suffice for twice. Judge then, I pray, what reason is't that I should stand alone charged with his vain expense, and that my sister Ragan should go free, to whom he gave as much as unto me? I prithee, Skalliger, tell me, if thou know, by any means to rid me of this woe.
Your many favours still bestowed on me bind me in duty to advise your grace how you may soonest remedy this ill. The large allowance which he hath from you is that which makes him so forget himself. Therefore abridge it half, and you shall see that having less he will more thankful be. For why abundance maketh us forget that fountains whence the benefits do spring.
Well, Skalliger, for thy kind advice herein, I will not be ungrateful if I live. I have restrained half his portion already, and I will presently restrain the other, that having no means to relieve himself, he may go seek elsewhere for better help.
Go, viperous woman, shame to all thy sex. The heavens, no doubt, will punish thee for this. And me a villain that to curry favour hath given the daughter counsel 'gainst the father. Both but us the world doth this experience give, that he that cannot flatter cannot live.
Father, what aileth you to be so sad? Methinks you frolic not as you were wont.
The nearer we do grow unto our graves, the less we do delight in worldly joys.
But if a man can frame himself to mirth, it is a mean for to prolong his life.
Then welcome sorrow, Leir's only friend, who doth desire his troubled days had end.
Comfort yourself, father. Here comes your daughter, who much will grieve, I know, to see you sad.
But more doth I grieve, I fear, to see me live.
My Gonorill, you come in wished time to put your father from these pensive dumps. In faith, I fear that all things go not well.
What do you fear? That I have angered him? Hath he complained of me to my lord? I'll provide him a piece of bread and cheese, for in a time he'll practise nothing else than carry tales from one unto another. 'Tis all his practice for to kindle strife, twixt you, my lord, and me, your loving wife. But I will take an order, if I can, to cease the effect where first the cause began.
Sweet, be not angry in a partial cause. He ne'er complained of thee in all his life. Father, you must not weigh a woman's words.
Alas, not I. Poor soul, she breeds young bones, and that is it makes her too touchy, sure.
What? Breeds young bones already? You will make an honest woman of me then, belike? Oh, vile old wretch! Who ever heard the like, that seeketh thus his own child to defame?
I cannot stay to hear this discord sound.
For any one that loves your company, you may go pack and seek some other place to sow the seed of discord and disgrace.
Thus say or do the best that e'er I can. 'Tis wrested straight into another sense. This punishment my heavy sins deserve, and more than this 10,000 times, else aged Leir them could never find, cruel to him to whom he hath been kind. Why do I overlive myself to see the course of nature quite reversed in me? Gentle death, if ever any wight did wish thy presence with a perfect zeal, then come, I pray thee, even with all my heart, and end my sorrows with thy fatal dart.
Do not so disconsolate yourself, nor dew your aged cheeks with wasting tears.
What man art thou that takest any pity upon the worthless state of old Leir?
One who doth bear as great a share of grief as it were my dearest father's case.
Good my friend, how ill art thou advised for to consort with miserable men. Go learn to flatter, where thou mayst in time get favor amongst the mighty, and so climb. For now I am so poor and full of want, as that I ne'er recompense thy love.
What's got by flattery doth not long endure, and men in favour live not most secure. My conscience tells me if I should forsake you, I were the hatefullest excrement on the earth, which well do know in course of former time how good my lord hath been to me and mine.
Did I e'er raise thee higher than the rest of all thy ancestors which were before?
Oh, I ne'er did seek it, but by your good grace I still enjoyed my own with quietness.
Did I e'er give thee living to increase the due revenues which thy father left?
I had enough, my lord, and having that, what should you need to give me more?
Oh, did I ever dispossess myself and give thee half my kingdom in goodwill?
Alas, my lord, there were no reason why you should have such a thought, to give it me.
Nay, If thou talk of reason, then be mute, for with good reason I can thee confute. If they which first by nature's sacred law do owe to me the tribute of their lives, if they to whom I always have been kind and bountiful beyond comparison, if they for whom I have undone myself and brought my age unto this extreme want, do now reject, condemn, despise, abhor me. What reason moveth thee to sorrow for me?
Where reason fails, let tears confirm my love, and speak how much your passions do me move. O good my lord, condemn not all for one. You have 2 daughters left, to whom I know you shall be welcome, if you please to go.
How thy words add sorrow to my soul, to think of my unkindness to Cordella, whom causeless I did dispossess of all upon the unkind suggestions of her sisters. And for her sake, I think this heavy doom is fallen on me, and not without desert. Yet unto Ragan was I always kind, and gave to her the half of all I had. It may be if I should to her repair, she would be kinder and entreat me fair.
No doubt she would, and practice it belong, by force of arms for to redress your wrong.
Well, since thou dost advise me for to go, I am resolved to try the worst of woe.
How may I bless the hour of my nativity, which bodeth unto me such happy stars? How may I thank kind fortune that vouchsafes to all my actions such desired event? I rule the King of Cambria as I please. The states are all obedient to my will. And look, whate'er I say, it shall be so. Not any one that dareth answer no. My eldest sister lives in royal state, and wanteth nothing fitting her degree. Yet hath she such a cooling card withal, as that her honey savoureth much of gall. My father with her is quartermaster still, and many times restrains her of her will. But if he were with me, and served me so, I'd send him packing somewhere else to go. I'd entertain him with such slender cost that he should quickly wish to change his host.
Ah, Gonorill, what dire unhappy chance hath sequestered thy father from our presence, that no report can yet be heard of him? Some great unkindness hath been offered him, exceeding far the bounds of patience. Else all the world shall never me persuade he would forsake us without notice made.
Alas, my lord, whom doth it touch so near, or who hath interest in this grief but I, whom sorrow hath brought to her longest home, but that I know his qualities so well? I know he is but stolen upon my sister, at unawares, to see her how she fares, and spend a little time with her, to note how all things go, and how she likes her choice. And when occasion serves, he'll steal from her, and unawares return to us again. Therefore, my lord, be frolic and resolve to see my father here again ere long.
I hope so too, but yet, to be more sure, I'll send a post immediately to know whether he be arrived there or no.
But I will intercept the messenger, and tempt him before he doth depart, with sweet persuasions and with sound rewards, that his report shall ratify my speech, and make my lord cease further to inquire. If he be not gone to my sister's court, as sure my mind presageth that he is, he happily may, by travelling unknown ways, fall sick, and as a common passenger be dead and buried. Would God were it so well! For then There were no more to do but this. He went away, and no one knows where he is. But say he be in Cambria with the king, and there exclaim against me as he will, I know he is as welcome to my sister as water is unto a broken ship. Well, after him I'll send such thunderclaps of slander, scandal, and invented tales, that all the blame shall be removed from me, and unperceived rebound upon himself. Thus, with one nail another I'll expel, and make the world judge that I used him well. My honest friend, whither away so fast?
To Cambria, madam, with letters from the king.
To whom?
Unto your father, if he be there.
Let me see them.
Madam, I hope your grace will stand between me and my neck verse if I be called in question for opening the king's letters.
'Twas I that opened them, it was not thou.
It's I, but you need not care, and so must I, a handsome man, be quickly trussed up, and when a man's hanged, all the world cannot save him.
He that hang thee were better hang his father, or that but hurts thee in the least degree. I tell thee, we make great account of thee.
I am o'erjoyed, I surfeit of sweet words. Kind queen, had I 100 lives, I would spend 99 of them for you, for that word.
Ay, but thou wouldst keep one life still, and that's as many as thou art like to have.
Oh, well, that one life is not too dear for my good queen. This sword, this buckler, this head, this heart, these hands, arms, legs, tripes, bowels, and all the members else whatsoever are at your dispose. Use me, trust me, command me. If I fail in anything, tie me to a dung cart and make a scavenger's horse of me, and whip me so long as I have any skin on my back.
In token of further employment, take that.
A strong bond, a firm obligation, good law, good in law. If I keep not the condition, let my neck be the forfeiture of my negligence.
I like thee well. Thou hast a good tongue.
And as bad a tongue, if it be set on't, as any oyster wife in Billingsgate hath. Why, I have made many of my neighbours forsake their homes with railing upon them, and go dwell elsewhere, and so by my means houses have been good cheap in our parish. My tongue, being well wetted with choler, is more sharp than a razor of Palermo.
Oh, thou art a fit man for my purpose.
Commend me not, sweet queen, before you try me, as my deserts are, so do think of me.
Well said. Then this is thy trial. Instead of carrying the king's letters to my father, carry thou these letters to my sister, which contain matter quite contrary to the other. There shall she be given to understand that my father hath detracted her, given out slanderous speeches against her, and that he hath most intolerably abused me, set my lord and me at variance, and made mutinies amongst the commons. These things, although it be not so, yet thou must affirm them to be true, with oaths and protestations as will serve to drive my sister out of love with him, and cause my will accomplished to be. This do, thou winst my favour forever, and makest a highway of preferment to thee and all my friends.
It sufficeth conceit, it is already done. I will so tongue whip him that I will leave him as bare of credit as a poulter leaves a coney when she pulls off his skin.
Yet there is a further matter.
I thirst to hear it.
If my sister thinketh convenient, as my letters importeth, to make him away, haste thou the heart to effect it.
Few words are best in so small a matter. These are but trifles. By this book I will.
About it presently, I long till it be done.
I fly, I fly.
I have been over negligent today. I'm going to the temple of my God to render thanks for all his benefits, which he miraculously hath bestowed on me, in raising me out of my mean estate, when, as I was devoid of worldly friends, and placing me in such a sweet content as far exceeds the reach of my deserts. My kingly husband, mirror of his time, for zeal, for justice, kindness, and for care to God, his subjects, me, and common weal, by his appointment was ordained for me. I cannot wish the thing that I do want. I cannot want the thing, but I may have, save only this, which I shall ne'er obtain. My father's love, oh, this I ne'er shall gain. I would abstain from any nutriment, and pine my body to the very bones. Barefoot, I would on pilgrimage set forth unto the furthest quarters of the earth, and all my lifetime would I sackcloth wear, and mourning-wise pour dust upon my head, so he but to forgive me once would please, that his grey hairs might go to heaven in peace. And yet I know not how I him offended, or wherein I have deserved blame. Oh, sisters, you are much to blame in this. It was not he, but you that did me wrong. Yet God forgive both him and you and me, even as I do in perfect charity. I will to church and pray unto my Saviour, that ere I die I may obtain his favour.
Rest on me, my lord, and stay yourself. The way seems tedious to your aged limbs.
Nay, nay, rest on me, kind friend, and stay thyself. Thou art as old as I, but more kind.
Oh, good my lord, it ill befits that I should lean upon the person of a king.
But it fits worse that I should bring thee forth, that had no cause to come along with me, through these uncouth paths and tireful ways, and never ease thy fainting limbs a whit. Thou hast left all to come with me, and I for all have not to guerdon thee.
Cease, good my lord, to aggravate my woes with these kind words, which cuts my heart in two, to think your will should want the power to do.
Cease, good Perillus, for to call me the Lord, and think me but the shadow of myself.
That honourable title will I give unto my lord so long as I do live. Oh, be of comfort, for I see the place whereas your daughter keeps her residence. And lo, in happy time the Cambrian prince is here arrived to gratify our coming.
Were I best speak, or sit me down and die, I am ashamed to tell this heavy tale.
Then let me tell it, if you please, my lord. 'Tis shame for them that were the cause thereof.
Old men are those that seem so sad. Methinks I should remember well their looks.
No, I mistake not. Sure it is my father. I must dissemble kindness now, of force. Father! Oh, I bid you welcome. Full of grief to see your grace used thus unworthily, and ill befitting for your reverend age, to come on foot a journey so endurable. Oh, what disaster chance hath been the cause to make your cheek so hollow, spare, and lean? Oh, he cannot speak for weeping. For God's love, come, let us refresh him with some needful things, and at more leisure we may better know whence springs the ground of this unlooked-for woe.
Come, father, ere we further talk, you shall refresh you after this weary walk.
Come he to me with finger in the eye, to tell a tale against my sister here, whom, I do know he greatly hath abused, and now, like a contentious, crafty wretch, he first begins for to complain himself, when as himself is in the greatest fault. I'll not be partial in my sister's cause, nor yet believe his doting vain reports, who, for a trifle, safely, I dare say, upon a spleen is stolen thence away. And here, forsooth, he hopeth to have harbour, and to be moaned and made on like a child. But there it be long. His coming he shall curse, and truly say he came from bad to worse. Yet will I make fair weather to procure convenient means, and then I'll strike it for sure.
Oh, now happily I am arrived here before the stately palace of the Cambrian king. Oh, if Leir be here, safe seated and in rest, to rouse him from it, I will do my best. Now, bags of gold, your virtue is no doubt to make me in my message bold and stout. The King of Heaven preserve your majesty, and send your highness everlasting reign.
Thanks, good my friend, but what imports thy message?
Kind greetings from the Cornwall Queen, the residue within these letters will declare.
How fares my royal sister?
Oh, I did leave her at my parting in good health. Oh, I see how her colour comes and goes again. Oh, now red as scarlet. Now pale as ash. Oh, see how she knits her brow and bites her lips and stamps and makes a dumb show of disdain, mixed with revenge and violent extremes. So here will be more work and more crowns for me.
Alas! Poor soul! And hath he used her thus? And is he now come hither with intent to set divorce betwixt my lord and me? Oh! Doth he give out that he doth report that I do rule my husband as I list, and therefore means to alter so the case that I shall know my lord to be my head? Well, it were best for him to take good heed. Why, I will make him hop without a head for this presumption, dotard that he is. In Cornwall, he hath made such mutinies, first setting of the king against the queen, then stirring up the commons against the king, that he had there continued any longer, he had been called in question for his fact. So, upon that occasion, thence he fled, and comes thus slyly stealing unto us. And now already, since his coming hither, my lord and he are grown in such a league that I can have no conference with his grace. I fear he doth already imitate some forged cavalations against my state. Therefore, 'tis therefore best to cut him off in time. Lest slanderous rumours, once abroad dispersed, it is too late for them to be reversed. Friend, as the tenor of these letters shows, my sister puts great confidence in thee.
Oh, she never yet committed trust to me, but that I hope she found me always faithful. So will I be to any friend of hers that have occasion to employ my help.
Hast thou the heart to act a stratagem, and give a stab or two, if need require?
I have a heart compact of adamant, which never knew what melting pity meant. I weigh no more than the murdering of a man, than respect the cracking of a flea when I do catch her biting on my skin. If you will have your husband or your father or both of them sent to another world, do but command me do it. It shall be done.
It is enough. We make no doubt of thee. Meet us tomorrow here at 9 o'clock. Meanwhile, farewell. Oh, and drink that for my sake.
Aye, this is it will make me do the deed. Oh, had I every day such customers as were the gamefullest trade in Christendom, a purse of gold given for a paltry stab. Why, here's a wench that longs to have a stab. Well, I could give it her, and ne'er hurt her neither.
When will these clouds of sorrow once disperse, and smiling joy triumph upon thy brow? When will this scene of sadness have an end, and pleasant acts ensue to move delight? When will my lovely queen cease to lament, and take some comfort to her grieved thoughts? If of thyself thou deignest to have no care, yet pity me, whom thy grief makes despair.
Oh, grieve not you, my lord, you have no cause. Let not my passions move your mind a whit, for I am bound by nature to lament for his ill will that life to me first lent. If so the stock be dried with disdain, withered, and sere the branch must needs remain.
But thou art now graft in another stock. I am the stock, and thou the lovely branch. And from my root continual sap shall flow, to make thee flourish with perpetual spring. Forget thy father and thy kindred now, since they forsake thee like inhuman beasts. Think they are dead, since all their kindness dies, and bury them where black oblivion lies. Think not thou art the daughter of old Leir, who did unkindly disinherit thee, but think thou art the noble Gallian queen, and wife to him that dearly loveth thee. Embrace the joys that present with thee dwell. Let sorrow pack and hide herself in hell.
Not that I miss my country or my kin, my old acquaintance or my ancient friends doth any whit distemperate my mind, knowing you, which are more dear to me than country, kind, and all the things else can be. Yet pardon me, my gracious lord, in this, for what can stop the cause of nature's power? As easy as it is for four-footed beasts to stay themselves upon the liquid air and mount aloft into the elements, and overstrip the feathered fowls in flight, as easy is it for the slimy fish to live and thrive without the help of water. As easy is it for the blackamoor to wash the tawny colour from his skin, which all oppose against the course of nature, as I am able to forget my father.
Mirror of virtue, phoenix of our age, too kind a daughter for an unkind father, be of good comfort, for I will dispatch ambassadors immediately for Britain, unto the King of Cornwall's court, whereas your father keepeth now his residence, and in the kindest manner him entreat, that setting former grievances apart, he will be pleased to come and visit us. If no entreaty will suffice the turn, I'll offer him the half of all my crown, and if that moves not, we'll furnish out a fleet and sail to Cornwall for to visit him, and there you shall be firmly reconciled in perfect love, as erst you were before.
Where tongue cannot sufficient thanks afford, the King of Heaven remunerate, my lord.
Only be blithe and frolic sweet with me. This and much more I'll do to comfort thee.
It is a world to see now I am flush. How many friends I purchase everywhere. How many seeks to creep into my favour and kiss their hands and bend their knees to me. Oh, no more. Here comes the Queen. Now shall I know her mind and hope for to derive more crowns from her.
My friend, I see thou mind'st thy promise well, and art before me here, methinks, today.
I am a poor man, and it like your grace, but yet I always love to keep my word.
Well, keep thy word with me, and thou shalt see that of a poor man I will make thee rich.
I long to hear it. It might have been dispatched if you had told me of it yesternight.
It is a thing of right strange consequence. And well, I cannot utter it in words.
Oh, it is more strange that I am not by this beside myself with longing for to hear it, were it to meet the devil in his den and try a bout with him for a scratched face. I'd undertake it if you would but bid me.
Oh, my good friend, that I should have thee do is such a thing, as I do shame to speak. Yet it needs must be done.
I'll speak it for thee, Queen. Shall I kill thy father? I noticed that, and if it be so, say.
Aye.
That's enough.
And yet, that is not all.
What else?
Thou must kill that old man that came with him.
Ooh, here are 2 hands. For each of them is one.
And for each hand, here's recompense.
Oh, that I had 10 hands by miracle. I could tear 10 in pieces with my teeth. So in my mouth you'd put a purse of gold. But in what manner must it be effected?
Tomorrow morning, ere the break of day, I, by a while, will send them to the thicket that is some 2 miles from court, and promise them to meet them there myself, because I must have private conference about some news I have received from Cornwall. This is enough. I know they will not fail. And then be ready for to play thy part, which done, thou mayst right easily escape, and no man once mistrust thee for the fact. Oh, but stay. Before thou prosecute the act, show him the letter which my sister sent. There, let him read his own indictment first, and then proceed to execution. But see thou faint not, for they will speak fair.
Could he speak words as pleasing as the pipe of Mercury, which charmed the 100 eyes of watchful Argos and enforced him sleep? Yet here are words so pleasing to my thoughts as quite shall take away the sound of his.
About it then. When thou hast dispatched, I'll find a means to send thee after him.
And thus we close the first half of the play as we ask everybody else to join us back in the room. Well done, everyone. Some lovely, lovely stuff came out of that. So, yes, from this approximately first half, that's sort of approximately where we might put an interval, but there is a slight question as to where we might in a full production put an interval. So yes, I enjoyed that. I wasn't expecting to be doing that. There was only a confirmation relatively last minute that I was going to be reading Messenger, so that was an unexpected thing. That hopefully the Messenger will be passed to who it was supposed to be tomorrow, if availabilities allow.
I think
but
playing him.
For the sake of continuity, I think you're going to have to keep going.
Yes. Relationships with these characters, and they work. Come on.
Yeah, I have to say, I wasn't intending to play him that way at all. It just after a few seconds, I just went, I am ever so humble, Mr. Copperfield. Just immediately sort of clicked in, and I just couldn't quite get out of it. I wasn't expecting to be quite so joyous about the murder either.
I think we were encouraging each other there.
Yeah, I think we were. I think we were.
Because I was planning to be joyous about it, but I didn't expect you to respond with quite so much glee, so that it was like, oh.
Yes, that was watching someone figuring out what they were doing as they went along. On my part. Other thoughts from around the room for those watching. We had a few lurkers today, as well as those with bigger and smaller parts across the session. Just getting a real sense of it, and actually, normally I say at the beginning, go in with pace and keep the energy up, and I sort of throw these comments into the chat and things. But actually, what I quite liked about the opening was actually its relative sedateness here, especially as there's setup and plot and stuff going on. So I found that was really interesting, actually, in terms of general pacing. Alan,
the one thing that struck me going through it this time at pace is I'm darn sure that when we went through on a first look, on the slow look, we didn't pick up all of the smut. I mean, there are some fairly raunchy sequences in there which I don't think we commented on during first look at all.
Yeah, and it's really important character stuff for some of these men. I think we did. I've got some notes. I was looking at my notes as we went along, of just going, "Horny bugger" is written in the things and things like that. So there's an awful lot of quite horny young men wandering around saying things that are could be described as locker room talk at times. There's some. And I think that's some quite important character stuff going on, actually, with who these men are and how this court functions, actually, around these things. But that could be just false memory. I have to go back to the video to check whether we picked up on that the first time around, or whether we've just forgotten.
I certainly don't recall it from first look, and I know I was there.
Lois.
Yeah, you've got a line actually that really puzzled me, because you say after Ragan has gone off, why, here's a wench that longs to have a stab. Are you talking to someone in the audience, or are you talking, or do you see Cordella coming on right after that, or what?
I take it I was the person who had just left. I was talking about. I took that very much as I think we could have some fun times. Is in his head at least. And yeah, that was a much more masochistic scene, wasn't it? At times. It was use me. Other thoughts from the room, and just impressions. I mean, we had fun. I hope it comes across on the video. I miss Skalliger. I really liked Skalliger. I liked the reading of that very night. It's such a shame Skalliger just now disappears. Spoilers, people, if you haven't, you don't know. But there is no return of Skalliger, and it's a burning hole in the text. We can assume it probably doubles with the messenger. Feels like it's on the same vein. Lynn, muted at present.
Me and mute. Yeah, actually, if I were producing this, I would massage the text a little and make Skalliger and conflate the messenger and Skalliger, and that's one character. I think you could do it.
Yeah, you'd need to change some of the things, but yeah, it could be doable.
I like that idea in terms of practicality and actors, but I sort of think the messenger is more powerful if he's no one. If he comes from nothing and reaches the height he does.
I mean, it's certainly doubleable.
I mean, that's certainly. I mean, I like that idea too, that the messenger is really quite low prestige character, but you could make Skalliger just kind of a parasite hanger on at the court who's not especially an aristocrat. So kind of meet in the middle there, that character is not an aristocrat, not a fancy person, not a posh boy.
Helen.
I thought we thought that Mumford and the messenger were a double.
Possible.
Well, there's a lot of doubles because there aren't that many parts. I mean, actually, you look at all the primary parts. If you take out supernumeraries, there's only about 10 parts to pass around before you start getting to the smaller minor parts. Of the primary ones. So they can actually double with quite a few people. In fact, one of the elements actually here is that in theory, the messenger could perhaps be given the line that was one of the that should be the servant of Cornwall. So it could have been the servant of Cornwall that we had played by a different person earlier. So in fact, the messenger might be on earlier in a very minor line of dialogue, so it might be that that's actually the same person already. Other things, I was really liking Cordella, and there's interesting layering to their Francis and Tamara's conversations there. I loved your costume, Francis, by the way.
Which one?
The disguise.
Oh, right. Thank you.
Any thoughts about Cordella? Because Cordella could appear on a surface scan as quite dull, but she isn't actually. She's a really nice part.
Yeah, I mean, she gets asides in the very first appearance she makes. I think the very first thing she says is an aside, which yeah, I just love the fact that she comes on and she's looking at her two sisters and she's like, yeah. And then that gets her in trouble. But also the fact that she then goes off and she's like, it's cool. I'll just learn to sew. I'll just make stuff now. I can do this. So she's, even though that last scene we just did, she's, oh, don't be so sad all the time. She's being told that, but she's not. She's trying to move forward. She's just lucky that she gets picked up by a king by happenstance.
Lynn.
Yeah, and despite its artificiality, that scene where the King of France and Cordelia meet and kind of fall in love when they don't really know who the other person. That scene just charms me. It always just sort of makes me go, "Aw," even though it's like so unrealistic. But there's something just so sweet about it.
Well, but it's also the fact that you've got Mumford at the same time going fanar.
Yeah.
It's a really that, and it doesn't come across as too awful in that sense because you actually have something genuine going on at the same time, and you just feel just throw a bucket of water over him and he'll be fine later on. So it's a really interesting structure to that scene as well. Actually, that you undercut it as well as playing it genuinely. Other thoughts, Rachael?
No, I just love Gonorill and Ragan. Their characters. They're so everybody who's evil in this play are supposed to be the bad guy or instigator of something. They're just so fun, and they were played so fun today that I loved that energy in every scene that we were doing.
And what was nice about the two different performances is that they were playing on very different energies, but they both worked in their own right. So it goes to show that this play has range in terms of how to perform it. You could go really for it, or you can go for something that's perhaps on a more psychological level, and actually that works. and that's what I was liking as this is what I quite like about the slight randomness of how we do this, is that there's no real working together in advance as to what our performances are going to be like, and it brings out all sorts of possibilities about how a production might go for it. I mean, I have to say I was loving Dan's Leir, especially with the I mean, not to praise you primarily for your camera angles, but they worked really well. Yeah, and Francis.
Yeah, I was going to say I really like the relationship between the Gallian king and Mumford. That whole bit with "Don't call me a lord. What did I tell you?" There's a lot of I really like that scene.
Look, Mumford played as Pike.
Yes, stupid boy.
We're going to have to close relatively shortly so that we can do a little bit of prep for a slightly more complicated second half. Any final thoughts from the room about the inverted commas show so far? It's not a full show. We're still faffing around trying to figure out where we're going. Rachael.
No, just how much potential for comedy there is in this. That the messenger even says it's like a dumb show, that even if it's supposed to be, I'm not sure what it's supposed to be because I wasn't for the original here, but yeah, there's so much comedic potential.
Yeah. I always like a show that has range. It can, that you can zoom out or you can focus in on different ways, and this seems to have it. He said. Fingers crossed. You can agree or disagree in the comments or get in touch. We're available online on all social media forums, so by all means add to the conversation, I believe you're supposed to say, and things like this, and say like and subscribe and all that jazz. So all that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful work, and thank you very much, everyone. We will return with the second half with a slightly different team, but hopefully mostly continuity. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.
Bye.